Yeah, yeah, it's hard not to kind of respect somebody that will have people come in their platform to sell stuff, find the ones with the biggest profit, make their products, redirect their traffic, and to then take the profits into your own pockets based off of the other people that already took the risks. I think that's awesome.
It's
Like,
true.
who else thinks like that? Seriously, Bezos, bravo.
Yeah,
That's my heartfelt sociopathic love.
he did something well. He's done something crazy, and I can't. I don't know. He it works. It just works, and yeah, I mean it does. When you think about it, it works, and I can't necessarily fault him for that. But at the same time, like I don't like him, and I don't like what they've done. So okay,
So what are you gonna do?
exactly.
Self-inflicted.
That's the thing. That's the issue that I have. Like, all right, I don't like it. I don't like what you're doing, but it works, and I use your product on occasion. So I can't fault you for that because I actually use your product. So that type of
Right?
thing. Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
take that, reality.
Take that reality. Yep. So anyway,
You're
and then
amazing.
finally, within the fog model, you've got the T, which is the trigger. It's the thing that prompts or gets the user or the person to do the behavior that you want. And very often, honestly, that trigger can be very simple. It could just be a button, just a
Yeah, it's a
simple
button.
button,
Button's
or
enough.
a call to action saying, "Hey, just buy now. Click here. Go here. Look at that." That type of thing. So there you go.
It's perfect.
Yep, exactly.
It's
It's
enough.
perfectly
It's
simple.
enough. I like simple. Come home.
Yep, yep.
Don't make fun of simple. Simple is good. Simple is beautiful.
Well, I mean, it is. There's a beauty in simplicity, and
I'm a fan of simple.
I think a lot of people miss out on that.
Hmm.
So,
And they should, because simple is for brilliant people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else we want to talk about before moving forward. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, so his whole hooked model, he's got the four things. It's trigger, action, variable reward, and investment, which is honestly basically it's the exact um it's just that's just a habit cycle.
Yep.
You got the trigger, you've got the craving, you've got the action, and you've got the reward. And I would say like the investment it maps to the craving, and the other two should be fairly obvious. So okay, triggers. Is there anything else we want to talk about with triggers?
No, I
Anything
think
on your
you
mind?
were amazing.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Doo-doo-doo-doo. So, talking about actions and things like that. So this is something that's kind of cool too. Like so just talking about the ability, going back to ability stuff. When it comes to that fog model, where and talking about the ability, he's like, okay, there are things that there are six factors that influence your ability to do something or your ability to perform a behavior: time, money, physical effort, brain cycles, social deviance, and non-routineness.
Oh, non-routineness. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like I think with that one, the gym is a really good example of it. I don't remember. I think it was in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. He talks about people trying to lose weight or trying to get into the gym habit, and he says that there is somebody who made it so easy for him to start. All the guys, like for the first couple of weeks, the guy's goal was to just step through the front door of the gym. That was the
Yep.
goal.
That was his entire goal.
Yes.
And
And
if he got there, it's unlikely he'd turn around and just leave.
yeah, yeah. Like he would get you he to him his whole mind was just walk in the door, turn around and leave. That was what he was going to do. But and a lot of that was because it was out of his routine. So he didn't have a routine for it. So he wanted to try and create that routine habit of doing it. And
Yep.
then the other part of it is like it's such a huge effort for him to actually get there. So we're talking like physical effort of getting there was huge.
Yep.
So he didn't want to have this massive expectation of I'm going to go and work out for 2 hours. No, like the expectation was I just walk through that door. I just walk through that door, and that was it. Like that was the only
That's
thing.
enough.
Yeah, it was just enough. So that was huge for him. And so as you said, like he just walked through that door and he was like, okay, well, I might as well just go walk on the treadmill for a few minutes. But then he like increased that himself, increased the difficulty and increased like the expectations over time, where he was like, okay, well, now that I've gotten into the habit of walking through the door, I'm now going to start like pushing myself into the habit of just walking for 5 minutes, now for 10 minutes, things like that. And until he was actually doing things and he lost weight doing it. Um, Social
Yeah.
deviance, like we've kind of been talking about mainly with Facebook and Instagram and just social media. Time is a huge one, so a lot of people don't want to do certain things or don't want to get into stuff because it's a huge like there's a huge amount of time effort that is needed. Like they have to like put a ton of time into it. So um I think like that's a big one for me. Like I've got so many things going on that if I know something's going to take more than 30 minutes or more than some like a certain amount of time, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
you
effort is
okay?
a terrible thing.
It is.
Yeah. Sorry. Did that come through?
Well, I just want to make sure you're all right.
Mm. Got a cold. Got a cold. So I'm
No.
just dealing with that.
Yeah.
So COVID. No, I don't know. And
Yeah.
but I
Sometimes.
still sometimes like to say like fire, COVID.
Stay away.
So stay
Um.
away. You may die and kill your grandmother and everybody else's grandmother. And
That's the funny part is
you're in
like
the car. Put that mask back on.
at my gym, it seems like some sickness is going around because over the last couple of weeks, the number of people has like really shrunk down. So it's been kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what?
Speaking
That
of
happens.
gym, how's how the belts going?
We'll talk later.
Cool.
Just want to finish out what we've got with the action. Money
Stay
is an
focused.
Yeah, money is another thing that's huge for people to focus in on. If you so this is one of the hard ones too, like with your product. I think if you're trying to sell a product and trying to get people to uh, commit to it, you can't make your product too expensive. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, if you make it too cheap, people aren't going to buy it. So I think that's a really hard one at times.
Yep.
The part of that too is you really just have to look at your competition and see what's going like how much they're charging. Like if you're trying to do a streaming service, look at how much Netflix is charging and
Mm-hmm.
just charge the same amount to start with.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. There's something to be said for premium service offerings,
Hmm.
but you know, if you're not really heads and tails above them, people just expect services to get cheaper over time. They're,
It's true.
commoditization. So don't think you're going to go into it and be able to claim what you're worth.
Well, that was the so I remember several years back that happened to Netflix. They for forever their streaming cost was $9.99 for the longest time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, what's their pricing? See what their pricing plan. I don't want to go to actually Netflix, but do want to see what NPR says. Okay, so actually they now have ads.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, that's actually the interesting thing. What they have found right now is like they need to increase their prices. A lot of the streaming services, what they're finding is that they have to increase their prices in order to maintain profit and to uh, continue producing content, because that's part of the difficulty is that they are producing content. One
Mhm.
of the other things discussions going on is like, so for example, well, we the streaming model is horrible. Okay, it's just absolutely horrendous, and we're still trying to figure it out. Because the issue is when you go back to the traditional model of TV, what they would do is they'd produce a pilot and they'd produce like one or two episodes for the pilot. Okay,
Yep.
so studios would only commit a certain amount of money to the pilot, and then they would put the pilot out, and they'd see what the response was. So a pilot,
Mhm.
for example, let's just like pull a random figure out of our asses. Yeah, a pilot might cost $500,000. Okay, to
Mhm.
a studio that makes millions and millions a year, 500,000, not that big of a deal. Okay, not that big of a deal. So they put the pilot out there and they'd see, okay, well the pilot did really well, so let's go ahead and order 8 episodes. Okay, well
Mhm.
those 8 episodes did really well. We're at the mid-season break. Let's finish out the season, and then they'd finish out the season. Okay, the season did really well. We did 20 episodes of this season. We were seeing numbers climb as we went throughout the season. Let's order a new season, and then they would order, and that's how that would work. The
Mhm.
problem is for the streaming services, they don't follow that model, and they need to. Um, because what they do is they order full 8 episode, 12, 10 episode, 12 episode seasons. And
Mhm.
on top of that, they spend millions on the seasons, like a
Mhm.
ton of money on them. And
Right.
then nobody goes and watches them because they're terrible. They're bad.
Mhm.
So what they need to do, what they should be doing is creating a pilot episode and like see, okay, well, is this actually going to do well? Is this good? And
Mhm.
then order those things. Now, because they're doing that model, they're realizing, oh my gosh, we need to be making money. We need to actually be pushing and asking for more and more money to get to be able to cover all of this.
Mhm.
But what they found out a couple of years ago is they can't do that. So back, I would say like 2013, 2014, Netflix was streaming and they were charging $9.99 for their streaming service is and stuff. Well,
Mhm.
then they came out and they announced that they were going to bump up from $9.99 to $15.99 or $14.99,
Mhm.
and everybody freaked out on them because they're like, oh my gosh, you cannot jump that high. You cannot do that. That is way too much money. Like,
Mhm.
holy crap, why are you doing that stuff?
Yep.
And so Netflix backed off and said, okay, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to
Uh-huh.
increase maybe to 10.99. And people were okay with that. But
Mhm.
here we are years later, and they keep they keep slowly increasing the prices. According to NPR, their highest, most expensive service is going to become $23 per month. Their mid tier price is going to be $15.50 a month.
Mhm.
Their lowest ad free service is going to be $12 a month, and their lowest streaming service with ads is going to be $7 a month.
Hmm.
So that's how they're making their money. So like they did everything. So going back to like relating this back to the hooked stuff. So like the behavior that they want is they want people to subscribe. But the problem is like people keep like they're not saying like people don't want to pay a ton of money because they're used to not paying a ton of money for streaming and such. But Netflix needs them to pay a ton of money so that Netflix can go and produce all of this content to get more people to come in. So what they've done is they've created a tiered system for each of those different types of people to try to get them to come in, and where they're still trying to make money and stuff. So the idea is if you don't like you want this the behavior that they want is they want people to subscribe. They don't care if you watch. Like they don't care. Really what they care about is okay, you buy and you're actually not using the service. That's a big deal to them because then they're making free money off of you at that point, give or take.
Maybe.
So, but most people
Maybe.
are going to. So anyway,
I
yeah. So
wonder
there
if
we go.
they'd rather. It's such a good question. I'm so curious.
What?
Is their only source of income from subscription?
Well, they have an ad model too.
Okay,
So they are
okay.
making ads.
So they've added the free to play
Yep.
or free-ish to play.
Free ish.
Hmm. You still have to do the minimum $7, I guess.
Yep. I think the other part is they have movies now that they are releasing into theaters. So they are
Hmm.
making some money that way. But on top of that, part of the reason why they are releasing movies into theaters is because that's how you become considered for an Oscar.
Oh,
And if your movie wins an Oscar, they can sit there and say, okay, they can sell more by winning.
Oscar winning.
Yep, yep. They are also taking some of their shows and putting them on physical media. So they're putting them out on DVDs and Blu-rays and for whatever physical discs there are out there. So they are doing that too. So
Yeah.
they're making some money that way. Um,
Okay.
and the
So
other
there's
thing
that.
is the not only they also still have the DVD subscription model that still exists. It's just you have to like dig down to try to find it. So
Mm.
they have that. But yeah,
Wow, I forgot about that. That was so long ago.
I mean it still exists, and people definitely like they're like you. They forget it. They don't remember that it's there.
Yeah. Us old senile people.
Yep. Okay, so and finally, the other thing that he talks about when it comes to ability is brain cycles. The best example or the best description of this that I can say is analysis paralysis. What he's trying to get at is what you want to do to get somebody to come to the behavior that you want is to avoid the analysis paralysis factor. And it's like and essentially it's you want to make things extremely simple for people for them to make their decision. Um, and so part of that is you don't want them to be uh, to sit there and be like you don't want your pricing model to be too complicated. I think the studies show that a three cycle pricing model is much more effective than a single tier pricing model. Because at that point you can you see that you're able to see the comparison of it, and then if you go beyond three, people fall into the analysis paralysis thing, and then they can't do that. When it comes to apps and building apps, like Phil and I were talking about, you want to keep it simple. Don't put a ton of words on the screen. Don't put a ton of pictures and stuff. Don't hide your button, the action button that you want in amid everything. You just want the single act, like you want that button to be super obvious. So
Too obvious, even.